I'm not going to stay on long because you can see my nose is this red from wearing my N95 all night. This was not the night I was hoping for. Not at all. The gentleman that was taken off the ventilator on my birthday, I found out, I thought he was discharged. He's back on the ventilator. Fluid, pulmonary edema in the lungs. I'm hoping he does pretty good today. He's waking up again and trying to fight, but you could tell he's weak. He's definitely declined since the last 7 days. The woman who I had writing notes to me the day before he was taken off the vent is probably living the last moments of her life right now. Hey guys. Um, my gentleman that was on the high flow nasal cannula that I was proning, I had to fight to keep off the vent. And I don't want to say fighting with the doctors because that nurse's video who did the crying, sobbing, ranting, sociopathic behavior was it last week? But we are all doing everything. Sorry, let me turn these off. Everything medically that we know how to do. When you're looking at somebody's blood oxygen numbers and you see how low that their levels are in the blood, and you want to put them on the ventilator because that's what we would normally do, but you look at them and they're breathing fine. They're telling you that they're feeling fine. And you know that if you put them on the ventilator, you're not going to be able to solve the oxygenation problem. But what do? Nothing? And for a healthcare provider, that's a really hard thing to fucking do. I'm going to tell you that right now. We are all standing there pleading our cases with each other, really. And I was trying to just stay calm and not raise my voice because, I was getting frustrated because I was trying to help her understand, because when residents go into training, they do rotations. So they're not focusing on lungs or heart. They're going to go into their specialty of medicine after their residency. I focus on nothing but the respiratory system, but being in critical care, you know how that system works with other parts of the body and what the ventilator will and won't help. And, you're listening to the attending talk to them during rounds, and you're trying to explain to them, why this won't work. And it's hard to understand. Respiratory is not about pushing buttons on a ventilator and giving breathing treatments. There is mechanics behind it. There is science and formulas. And, they didn't want to not do anything, but the only answer we have right now, I was looking to see if there was more information coming out of New York about how to handle these patients. And right now we're just waiting to see what happens. We don't have any answers for people. We don't even have answers for ourselves. And it is the hardest thing to get through to people, to make them understand that we don't freaking know. And I have people protesting and screaming about getting back to work. Once we can get a grasp on how we can't predict the course. That lady came in on March 20th, tested positive, mild symptoms, went home. May 7th, she's back, and she won't be there when I get back to work tonight. It's hard. The 3 patients I was asked, do I have patients who have been there since I've been there? Yep. Took care of all 3 of them last night. We're on day 28 on the ICU stay. Nobody's responsive except for one, and I don't know what quality of life he's going to have when he gets done. He was a construction worker. Folks, this is not a joke. We don't know. That's the only thing I can tell you. Every time we think we know something, Rona throws us a curveball. And to sit there and stare at all these people in just amazement of what is going on, what is happening, how do we treat this? Everything that we've known medically that we're throwing at this, once you get on the vent, man, I've never hated that machine so much in my life. And all I can do is tell this guy to keep fighting. Keep fighting. You know, he's not tiring out. When they start to tire out, their carbon dioxide levels rise. The hypercapnia that stupid freaking cardiac nurse video talks about. That's a whole nother pain in my ass, is people like that. But looking at these folks, and, you know, they went to the floor, they were doing fine. And then you come back and you think they're discharged, and they're like, no, they're down the hall on the vent. And I'm like, what? What happened? Corona happened. So I wanted to go live last night, but I wanted to see how the night played out, because the ventilator is sitting at his bedside, and I know that if I have to put him on that, he's probably not going to survive, and he's 39 years old. And I was just begging, you know, he's maintaining. Please just wait for your attending to get here. If he's going to maintain. And we drew some more blood, and things were improving a little bit when he couldn't lay prone. His oxygen levels dropped to 67%. Still talking to me. That's not normal. If your oxygen level's that low, you're usually pretty obtunded, if not non-responsive. They did come back up, but not where we want him. He was doing good when we left, but I had him full bore on the oxygen as much as we could give him. We don't understand what's going on. We don't understand. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time. This is still playing out its course from somebody who was infected in March. And if we would have left her off the vent and just gave her as much oxygen as her body could handle, what would have happened? You know, we don't want to be experimenting with people. You know, there comes a point in time where we know we have to use the ventilator, and knowing when to do that is really important. So for those of you who, you know, work in healthcare, who see this and don't understand what respiratory does and what we know, please know that most of us know our shit. Don't ever look down upon your therapist because you think that they're just a breathing treatment giving machine and we just push buttons on that vent, because we know a lot more than you think we do, especially when we work in critical care. Anybody who works in critical care knows a lot, because there's so much involvement of all the other body systems. But have some respect for what we know, and don't be afraid to ask us. We love to teach. We love it. We love it if you ask more often, is what we love. This is what we specialize in. We don't have all the answers, but we do know what the ventilator is not going to fix. And, you know, that was one of the questions I kept asking her. What are you trying to fix with the ventilator that we can't do in other ways? Because if you put them on the vent, that's not going to fix the problem that you're trying to. And it's just so fucking hard, man. I'm glad I'm off after tonight. I work one more shift, and they've reopened the boardwalk on the Jersey Shore, and so help me God, it better not rain. But I am walking along that ocean. I love my water. It's peaceful. It's relaxing. And I need that right now after a month of this. I understand why that nurse broke down and made a histrionic video. Probably should have saved that for upload later after reviewing it. I try to play the devil's advocate, and I try to look at it from all perspectives. But that of my patient is the most important thing. Let me scroll back through some comments here. Man, this just sucks. Hey, Lil Mo, I hope things are getting better in Flint. This is just so frustrating, guys, to not be able to know what the hell we're doing. You know, all these years of training, all those thousands of dollars in education, and we don't freaking know anything. Let the scientists science the crap out of this, man, because we need to see what happens. They're on oxygen, Kimberly. They're on 100%. I can't get... My only other option would be throw him in a hyperbaric chamber, but I don't have one of those. Nitric, maybe, but that's expensive, and I don't have that either. I have a ventilator and some oxygen devices and a BiPAP. And he didn't need the BiPAP. He wasn't working to breathe. Wasn't going to force oxygen. You know, that's the same thing that the ventilator would attempt to do. It's not going to work because it's not a diffusion through the tissues problem. It's what they call a shunt. It just kind of bypasses that membrane. So you have to fix the shunting problem, and that's the question, is how? How do we fix this shunt? Because it's a hell of a large one. Ventilators don't fix that. They cause more problems generally. You have to fix the shunting to fix the problem. If it was just a diffusion problem and they needed help with PEEP, it might be beneficial, but right now it's just like... And I've washed my face when I got home. Don't... That's the first thing I do. And change my clothes. I'm usually covered head to toe, so I don't really need to wash my hair unless it's like a really bad night. But I was sweating my ass off last night. If anything was high in that mask, it was my saline level from my salt intake from drinking my own sweat. Dear God, those are hot. Especially, it's muggy outside. It's humid, like what Michigan gets. We don't have that in Texas, where I'm living. It's desert, arid, dry comfort. God, I don't miss the humidity. The protesters, I understand. I heard the heartbreaking video from the senator up in UP about the suicidal veterans, and that hit home because of what I do with the PTSD. There are some veterans up there who are just ready to take their lives, and thinking about it all is very stressful. Where is Mother frickin' Teresa when we need her? This sucks. This sucks so bad. This is the worst feeling I have ever felt in my career. I was doing my clinicals, you know, it was my second year during the H1N1, and we didn't have this. Yeah, there was a lot of people sick, but this wasn't going on. But I did have an actual flu patient last night that I got to talk to who was doing just fine. And I'm happy that she just had the flu and she got to go back to her facility and hide from people. But it was actually just the flu, and she was diagnosed with the flu. It wasn't labeled COVID, people. There's no conspiracy. It was the flu. Tested positive. No inflammatory markers for COVID. I just wanted to throw her a freaking party because I don't think I've seen a flu case since before I left El Paso. Waiting for a baby to come to the ER with COVID. The whole family has it. This is just terrible. I mean, we have no answers. People are looking to us because we're the professionals and the providers for answers. And when you don't have them, you know, it's your specialty. It's what you do. And there are no answers. No good ones anyway. Hurry up and wait. Stay home. Stay safe. Quit threatening your governor's life. I know it doesn't seem like enough. I'm standing there at the bedside like, what do you say to people? You know, I have to put you on the ventilator that you know is not going to have a positive outcome. Imagine the families that get those phone calls. The wife that he wanted us to call. I mean, what do you say? I'm glad I don't have that job. I'm usually comforting the family at the bedside and educating because they're on the vent and they can't talk. So the family's usually there to talk to. And I'm glad they're not right now because I would just feel that tall. This is the reality of this is reality of what we're dealing with. Not the histrionics from the nurse, not the hypercapnia from the cardiac nurse who was really good with her information until the first minute of the video finished. And then beyond that, it went downhill quickly. I couldn't even finish it for the stupidity that was involved in that. Science, just Google it. It's there. There's the research papers are right there. You are not going to rebreathe your carbon dioxide wearing those masks. This is what we've come to. And these are the professionals that you're looking to for answers. That's what frustrates me the most, is that is misinformation. She had her lovely RN badge on, and she was responsible and flipped her badge over because you really shouldn't be displaying where you work, especially for safety reasons right now. It's not a good idea. But to give misinformation like that's I'm a respiratory therapist. It is my job to talk about hypercapnia and hypoxia, which, hypercapnia is high carbon dioxide levels. You're not going to... Somebody sent me an article about a guy passed out wearing his mask, driving down the road. That wasn't the cause of him passing out behind the wheel, I promise you. There's research behind all of that. The military wear respirators, doing physical training under stress. And while they're cumbersome and they impair our ability to do our job because I can't see anything, they don't cause me to want to pass out from other than pure grossness from being saturated with sweat. And I have to wear two because we wear the surgical mask on the outside to prevent the N95 from getting contaminated because we don't have that many. So we have to make it last. So in a case where we would normally have thrown that away after going into one room, I'm wearing it the whole shift, and then more shifts and more shifts until it's filthy and I really have to change it. So the surgical mask helps to prevent the contamination and to keep it from getting dirty on the outside. The inside is a whole nother story. Definitely don't wear makeup while you're wearing those because it's just going to be in your mask. Who cares what you look like when all you can see is this? It's not a fashion statement. I mean, look at my nose. Can you see the top of my nose? That's just from wearing it. When you try talking in it and your mouth moves, it just pulls more. I am so sore. I'm getting Mepilex tonight and I'm putting it on my nose. We're all walking around like BiPAP wearers. We put the protection on the BiPAP on the bridge of the nose to prevent breakdown. We're all going to look like that underneath our masks really soon because those suckers are uncomfortable as hell after you wear them for all those hours. Because when you're in the ICU, you can't take it off. You can't, most of the time you can just wear a surgical mask around the hospital, which is great. I'll wear that all day. But that N95 in the ICU where respiratory is working, you don't get to take that sucker off. I'll have to take a look at that, Dale, when I get done with the video. ECMO, Shelley, ECMO is not widely available, and it's highly expensive and takes highly trained individuals to run it. And it's just not available everywhere. It's not an economical thing to have around. There's only a couple in a hospital or one. They're more popular in a children's hospital just because of the age group and the situations that we use them for. But they're just not available. Not every hospital has it. I mean, it's a high-level facility that usually has something like that. Yeah, exactly, Adriana. You just don't know. We have no freaking clue. Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Michelle. At least people are willing to correct themselves and backtrack and take down false information. Tell her I said thank you for doing research. Science the crap out of it. Don't be worried for me, Dale. I'm just tired. I'm going to get some sleep, I hope. Meditate. I'm going to meditate my ass off at the ocean this weekend as soon as I figure out how to ride these trains to get there. I might wind up in Harlem again. You know, my coworkers, as frustrated, as we get with each other because we're trying to get our points across, and I would never disrespect them like, that nurse did. We are all trying our damnedest to keep these people alive. We're doing everything that we are trained to do. And sometimes doing nothing is the hardest thing to do, and that's the best thing. It's just like when you have a really bad cold and you want the doctor to give you antibiotics, but it's not a bacterial infection, and you know that antibiotics aren't going to work and could potentially cause harm down the road. Doing nothing. And that's the hardest thing to teach residents in healthcare, is that sometimes doing nothing is the best thing that you can do. And just wait and see what happens. And if it gets to the point where we have to put them on the vent, then make that choice. But we weren't at that point, and I'm proud of her for exercising some restraint and good judgment. And we're all learning. This is a learning curve. Every one of us are learning from this and learning from each other. And when she's like, I'm a doctor, I'm like, I know you are, and that is why I called you doctor and gave you the respect that you deserve. But I need, this is my case, and this is, how it works. But it's very hard for them to not do anything because they don't want to think that they cost somebody their life by not doing anything. But on the same token, did we cost them their life by doing something? It's a very hard judgment call. And to call somebody a sociopath like that nurse did, no. You need to have some compassion and put yourself in other people's shoes when they're making these calls. And, this is really hard. We don't know. We just don't fucking know, man. And so many lives are being lost, and we don't know if we could have saved them. The shoulda, woulda, couldas. This is going to be very hard on many healthcare workers. Very hard. I can see it coming. I see a trauma counselor already from the shit that I deal with from my husband. So I am mentally prepared for the most of this, but not for not being able to not do anything. I think that's the only thing you can't prepare for when you come out here to the front lines and help these people, is that you can't do anything. All you can do is what you normally do and care and support somebody the best way you know how, and hope that that's good enough. And he's dry as a bone. There's no mucus in him right now. As soon as I put him on that ventilator, it'll start pouring out of him because of the oxidative stress. He's got the inflammatory markers right now, but they're not completely like through the roof like we see with these patients on the vent. And I want to keep him that way. We all want to, not just me, all of my coworkers want to keep these people that way, but how? How is the key word, and we need scientists to help us out with that. That's what they do, research, and it's still active. This is still an active situation of we don't fucking know. So give us the time that we need and quit flipping out. Quit making it a political divide. United we stand, divided we fall, and you will bring us all down. Man, this is hard. This is hard for everybody. Sitting at home not knowing. I mean, you deal with what you see on the TV, and my best advice is turn that goddamn thing off. Because they're just going to pull certain numbers out that people don't understand and confuse them more. Give information to people. I mean, that's the best thing that I can ask the media to do, is do their part in this to help. Inform, educate. That's what you should be doing. That's where you went wrong. And right now the media has a chance to redeem their image from all the negativity that they have done over the past several decades and turn this in to something helpful for people. I mean, they have the means to do it, and they're just helping with the fear. And education is what people need. That's what they're asking for. I mean, look at this page. I mean, everything is a good question. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. I'm taking care of myself. I will be okay. I ate some oatmeal with bananas I ordered when I got back from the hotel or from work. Yes, if you test positive for the flu, Emily, you're at higher risk for getting COVID because your immune system is weakened. So you're more susceptible to catching things, not just COVID, but other viruses that are out there. So yeah, male friend tested positive for flu, had a temp of 101 for about 10 days, felt better after 3-ish days. That sounds more like the flu. These people are feeling bad for like 30-ish days. Sometimes they're feeling good, then they come back 6 weeks later and can't breathe and die. Damn it. But the flu doesn't act like this. We don't see this kind of behavior with the flu. I mean, have be, we have been able to determine some of the patterns, the inflammatory markers, what blood work to look for, what to look for on X-rays. So we can tell almost immediately whether or not, just by the blood work, before the swabs even come back, if it's reacting like this or not. I mean, there's very, very specific things that happen in a specific course that happens with this. I have said it before and I will say it again. This was, in my freaking opinion, this was man-made, and that is my opinion. And that is about the only time I ever really insert my opinion into something. But how the hell did we get from a bat to this? I don't buy it. This really seems like a bioterrorism. I mean, this is how bioterrorism would happen. And I could only imagine if it mutated faster and the incubation period was shorter and people would be dropping dead immediately within like hours. This has got like a 10 to 12 day incubation period before the symptoms even start. And then it drags out forever until the body is just so freaking beaten down it can't fight back. And then if you get put on a vent, the inflammatory response that happens is just, I'm sorry, this is too specific. This is not the common cold. This is not the goddamn flu. This is very specific. Whether it had been an experiment, a test, whatever, it shouldn't have been let out. It was an accident. I don't give a damn how it came out, or what the intention was. This is evil. And that was the word I used all night long, that this virus is fucking evil. This is the devil at play here. It's so specific as to what happens and what we're seeing that you can predict that. I can predict what the blood levels of these markers look like before I even open the chart. It's that predictable in that case. But the course, we have people, we don't even know whether to call it a relapse or a reinfection. Is it still, did you get exposed to a different mutation? I mean, we don't freaking know. I mean, to go 7 weeks, 6, 7 weeks after your first exposure, and now you got kids showing up in the ER with these inflammatory responses. What you're seeing in these kids that you're seeing on the news is the same thing that's happening in the adults. It's the exact same thing. It's just in big people, not children. And our children were being saved from all of this in the beginning, and now they're not. It's frustrating. It's very, very frustrating. That's why I just have to turn the news off and I watch the Food Channel if I turn the TV on. Then it makes me hungry and I'm ordering Uber Eats and stress eating. Thank you, Nina. I really hope you guys are doing okay over there. I swear to God, if I was in El Paso, I would be loading up my frickin' Ford Flex and driving out to your reservation and bringing you everything that I could hoard, because I'm good at hoarding things. I know you guys are hurting out there. I know the water situation is very bad, but you guys are safe. And I really hope that your local communities and other people pull together, because I do know that from one thing about living out in that side of the country is that people are very caring and very strong, and they do come together. And I really hope that they do that for you right now. But you guys are safe. You don't have any cases, and we need to keep you safe that way. If there's anything I can do to help spread the word, to facilitate anything, Nina, let me know. I mean, I know my El Pasoans would more than likely be more than happy to help in any way they can. You know, I have the neighborhood app. I do share things in there. But I know the reses are like really dire right now. They really rely on the outside world for certain things, and I know that there's not running water. There's not, you know, we all take running water for granted, folks. That's a nice freedom and, you know, right and privilege, whatever the hell you want to call it. My brain can't even process things right now. But when you don't have running water, what do? There's no water in the desert. Go visit the desert. You're going to be, the Rio Grande in El Paso is like a third of the size of the Grand River in Michigan on a good day. At least the Grand River you could put a barge on. Not in El Paso, not on the border of Texas and Mexico there. No. No, it is not very wide. It will swell when it rains, but it's not very big at all. How it got called the Grand River is beyond me, because the one in Michigan is pretty grand. But yeah, it's very tiny. A freeway, 4-lane freeway is way bigger than the Rio Grande in El Paso. I have given people a piece of my knowledge, but I do it respectfully. Now we need clean water. Okay, so you need clean water. Saw advertising. We have, and actually I have like a pad for my toe that bothers me in my shoe that I could probably put up there, which I'm probably going to do because it's clear. It doesn't look like I have a giant Band-Aid on my nose. The spread is, we don't know how it's spreading and how fast. That's why we need you to go get tested to see who's been infected in your community so we can get an idea of the infection rate. And then we can get an idea of the infection fatality rate and produce accurate information and get an idea about herd immunity. But without all these numbers, you can just throw herd immunity right out the window. Just know that we need to achieve it, but we don't have the numbers to do it. We don't even have the fucking tests to do it that are accurate, because people want everything right now. And quality control does take time as well, and there's changes that need to be made. Yeah, the flu is bad. It does affect the lungs. It does. It very much does, but not in this way. Usually if I have a flu patient on the ventilator, by day 6, they're coming off. By day 6 at the latest. I had a guy with HIV, active AIDS, totally compromised, and he still successfully came off my ventilator before I left El Paso. So that would never happen with these patients right now. Their immune system would be just gone. Strep and pneumonia is another very common. Strep will cause some issues. That's why it's important to get swabbed for everything when you go for this. Now, just because you tested negative for COVID doesn't mean you won't test positive a few weeks later. Incubation period and all. Repeated testing is definitely necessary if you think you've been exposed. Man, guys, we need time. We need to buy ourselves time. Now, Taiwan had it right. They do need, I really hope that somebody can show that video to Governor Whitmer and she can see that there is a way to do this safely if the people behave like they do in Taiwan and unite. That Michigan militia group, I swear to God, You don't see this in other militia groups in other states because they're not so freaking arrogant. We have science going for us. They are on it. That's hope. You have to have hope. Without hope, you have nothing. So there's always something to hope for. So always keep hoping. What good does the vent do at this point? Nothing. It supports the body if it needs it. You know, usually these are reversible conditions. If you don't think, folks, advanced directives. Okay, we need to talk about this again. I have a DNR status. I do not want chest compressions. I do not want to be revived. I see what happens inside there and how aggressive we are and how little it actually does help. Look at the science behind it. I mean, yeah, there are people who get saved from cardiac arrest, and that's a good time to use CPR. Like if you're at home and you drop and it's witnessed and we know and there's things that we can do. Don't get me wrong, there's a time and place for CPR. But when your body is just completely given out and you are in multi-system organ failure, all you're doing is torturing that poor body. If I were ever to make the choice for myself, if I came down with this and it got to the point where I had to be put on a vent, abso-fucking-lutely not. No. And not unless they figure out how to treat this effectively. That's promising. There's nothing very hopeful right now in that department. You know, there's some drugs that show a little bit of help, but this, you know, a lot of these people had those drugs and they still wound up like this. So, genetics. But I would never, I enjoy traveling, I enjoy educating. I could never live like that. My personal quality of life would be absolute shit. And that is not what I would want for myself. I would be miserable and I would want to die anyway if I had to live like that. So just let me go. It is my time. That is my choice. You need to make your choices known. Would you want that same thing for you, given these situations? And please, please, while we have all this free time, look into your advance directives and talk to your loved ones about what you would want and why. And you have the right to sign them. And that's your choice. That's your freedom. Be informed about your choices when you make them. I'm telling you why I wouldn't want mine, but some people would rather be there for their family, even if they were vent dependent or, you know, not all there because of multiple brain injuries from lack of oxygen. That's a personal choice, but make them known. They are very important, or we have to make them for you, and it might not be what you want. I'm staying safe. I am just... Why do you think they call it practicing medicine? Because we are practicing. It's very true. Early March, they weren't testing. We didn't have the COVID tests in early March. When I was in El Paso, our ER doctor came up with, I think we got like 400 tests in early March. And they told us make them last because you don't expect any more till the end of April. And that was on an official capacity. And that was straight from an ER doc's mouth. So we had to conserve them for people who had traveled or had possible exposure, like confirmed, until we got more. And it took like 6 weeks to get more because we have to manufacture something that's new. Folks, this is new. Manufacturing tests that need quality control and FDA approval. It takes time. There's a reason we don't have these tests. I don't think it's COVID just from the way you're describing it. The course didn't last long enough. I mean, he could get the antibody test now to see if he was ever exposed. But just by feeling, the flu usually runs its course in about 10 days. My friends are feeling complain about it with their doctor. We call it practicing medicine for a reason. Not a single medical professional has mastered anything. If somebody claims to be an expert and has mastered it all, avoid them like the plague, because medicine is, that's why we have continuing education requirements. We have to continue to educate because things change. Yeah, the surgical mask is much more favorable. I'm trying to do well, Fatima. It's the markers for the blood. Hang on here. You have the ferritin levels. I just want to make sure I'm not trying to pull this from bad memory from lack of sleep. I wrote this better somewhere else. So you're looking at the CRP, which would be greater than 100, ferritin greater than 500, D-dimer greater than 1,000, the LDH greater than 245, CPK greater than 2 times the ULN, and lymphocytes less than 800. Those are the ones that we look at with this. And my guy his D-dimer was lower than 1,000, so he was climbing up there. But if I put him on that vent, all those markers are going to shoot through the roof. But that's what we look at. That gives us the cardiac, all the cardiac ideas of how the system's functioning. And blood clotting with the D-dimer. So if he's getting thick blood and at risk for clots, but I was still able to draw it. Thank you guys. Yeah, this is like really crazy. This is all really crazy. Yeah, if they were catching it and dying quickly and not knowing that they were carriers or something, it wouldn't be able to spread so far, but we don't have that option. I didn't say it was man-made. I said I think, my personal belief, that it was man-made or maybe taken from a bat and altered in a lab, because there's no damn way. It's too specific. It is so specific. And it feels very intentional when you look at it. Yes, it is my personal opinion. Please do not quote me as fact. It is my opinion. It's the opinion of a lot of healthcare workers just by what we see. It's going to be interesting, the information that we find out about contact tracing. Please participate so we can lay blame somewhere, okay, guys? Oh, Jesus, Washington is just terrible with some of this. Thank you, guys. I'm probably going to go to bed soon. Maybe he can trying to get through the comments here. Our elderly still live out in the boonies. We need water for them. We get water from our chapter house at local windmills, and that even gets dry. This breaks my damn heart. I will put some information out. Are you on the Navajo Nation? Is that where you're at, Nina? Yeah, I didn't plan on going live, but work is just ridiculous. Oh, good. Oh, geez, Sarah, I'm sorry. I shared the nasal swab. That's not microchipping people. Yeah, we are using some autoimmune medications that you would see for like rheumatic situations. They are trialing these to see if they'll help, and so far, nothing's been a miracle. Yeah, there's some good guys in the militia, but once it got to be this bullshit, they actually distanced themselves from it because they were like, this is not what I was about when I joined. Good. But the businesses need to enforce these things. No, I'm a nurse. I'm not a nurse. I'm a respiratory therapist. I deal with the lungs and all the breathing. No, it doesn't force it in there, Sandy. It's a ventilator. It moves oxygen and carbon dioxide in and out. There's certain things we can do on the vent to make adjustments to try and help with oxygenation, but in this case, those things won't work. So it's just supportive care. Yes, the alveolar cells are being damaged, and there's a shunt, and I'll share some pictures of a shunt and try to the D-dimer lets us know kind of how thick that the blood is getting and if you're at risk for clotting. There are just a lot of inflammatory markers that we look at, and there are other ones that, but I think they are trending the troponins. If I get this fucking computer to work, of course not. Anytime I want to use it, it's useless. It's trying to pull up if you go to the MedCram on YouTube, he's got a great video on all of this and all of the values with it. And, like what the cutoff is that we're looking for. Just trying to pull something up here. I'm sorry, I am so fried. Yeah, it lets us know about if there's blood clots and other things in the blood that deal with blood clotting. Yes, very much so. I'm just going to stay on for like another minute. I'm going to go to bed. It'll probably be for 4 hours. Okay, I've caught up. All right, guys, I just wanted to fill you in on what's really going on out here and how frustrated all of us healthcare workers are. How we handle ourselves on social media is going to make a big difference on how the public views us. People who do those things are not very credible or believable because it's so... Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you. And Nina, I want to know what I can do to help. Let me know. I mean, I'm sure Walmart delivery is not available out there. Let me know. Because there are Facebook groups that help transport pets. I'm sure there is one that can be created to help. If there's a Facebook group to help out the Navajo Nation, please let me know. These guys they need help. They really need help. And they need to stay safe. So, Nina, shoot me a private message and let me know your situation and what you need and what I can do. And I really need you hydrated. It's getting hotter than hell out there. But I'm going to go to bed. So thank you for the conversation. I wish we could do like a group Zoom meeting, but I don't know how chaotic that would be. We'd probably all be talking all over each other, but maybe we'll have something like that so that way we can interact like in real time without just comments. CF patients, I don't see a lot of them. I do. I mean, I definitely do, but I don't see very many. Okay, Monique, I'll be looking for it. Yeah, if there's a Zoom meeting, if you guys, I'm so technologically impaired, but like maybe once a week, like a group meeting, and if everybody can just like, I don't know, because I know some of the connections are like, crappy, but if somebody's got an idea of Zoom, if there's a different app besides Zoom that's more reliable, let me know, and maybe we'll organize something like that, because I think that would be a cool idea. Everybody could see each other and talk. So we'll work on something like that. Alrighty, well, I'm going to go to bed and hopefully sleep like 5 hours. That would be great. Oh, a yawn. I've been waiting for one of those. I'm going to try. I'm going to look forward. I'm just going to keep my mind open to the beach and just walking along. I don't like to swim, especially in the ocean. But I do like the water, and I will put my feet in the sand. So that'll be a nice feeling. Sand that's different than the one in the desert because it's very fine silt out there. And it's always full of stickers. So, all right, guys, you stay safe, wash your hands, and just avoid people, please. I love y'all.